All right, welcome back, everyone. We're ready for another deep dive.
Ready when you are.
Awesome. So today we're going to be looking at something pretty interesting. We're going to be talking about international research collaboration.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So we got this article from the Journal of Studies in International Education from 2015. And this wasn't just like a small study or anything. They surveyed over 17,000 academics
Wow.
across 11 European countries.
That's massive.
Yeah, so we're going to try and answer the question, does teaming up with researchers from different countries, across borders, can that actually boost how much research you produce?
Right. I mean, that's the question, isn't it? Does going international actually move the needle?
Exactly. And what's in it for our listeners, even if they're not in academia? That's what we're going to be exploring. But first, let's unpack a little bit how this study kind of categorized researchers.
Yeah, they use those terms, internationalists and locals, right?
Yeah, right. Internationalists, for those who collaborate with, well, people from other countries, and locals are the ones who primarily work with, people in their own country.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You could almost think of it like that. The concept of cosmopolitans and locals that the sociologist Alvin Goldner described.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so cosmopolitans, like those internationalists, they tend to orient themselves toward a broader, more global community, right? And locals, well, they kind of focus on their immediate surroundings.
That's a good comparison. And according to this study, that cosmopolitan mindset, it seems to have a pretty big impact on how much these researchers publish.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the study found that across all these different fields, internationalists published almost twice as many articles as locals.
Wow, twice as many.
Yeah. So think about it, right? The world of academia, it's competitive. Publishing research is crucial for advancing your career, getting grants, building a reputation. So that difference, it's not insignificant.
No, definitely not. So, are there any specific examples in this study?
Yeah, for sure. So in life sciences and medical sciences, for example, internationalists, they published an average of 8.8 articles over a 3-year period, while locals published, on average, 4.91.
Huh.
And remember, getting published in those scientific journals, it's not a walk in the park.
No, not at all.
There's rigorous peer review, revisions, sometimes rejections. So this difference in output, it's really saying something.
Yeah, that's a great point. It really highlights the impact that these collaborations can have. But were there any fields where the difference was even more dramatic?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the biggest difference, it was seen in engineering. Internationalists in engineering, they published an average of 6.97 articles, while locals only published 2.91.
Whoa. So in that field, the impact of international collaboration is even more pronounced.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That's fascinating. It makes you wonder, why is there such a big difference in engineering specifically?
That's a great question. And to be honest, this study, it shows it's a strong link, a correlation, but it doesn't really tell us exactly why. I mean, there's a lot more research that needs to be done to figure out all the factors involved, but it definitely makes you think.
It does. I mean, is it that these researchers who are already high achievers, are they just more likely to be sought out for these international projects? Or could it be that collaborating internationally just opens doors to more resources and opportunities, and that kind of creates a snowball effect on their research output?
Yeah, it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation, isn't it?
Mm.
It's probably a mix of different things. Maybe those researchers who are already super productive are naturally drawn to international collaborations because they're, looking for new challenges and broader impact.
Yeah, that makes sense. But it's also easy to see how, getting those international connections could lead to more research opportunities, funding, and ultimately more publications. It's like a positive feedback loop.
Exactly. And this study found another interesting piece of the puzzle, and that is the co-authorship of articles with international colleagues.
Okay, yeah, let's dive into that. I
Hmm.
mean, it seems like you can't really have international co-authorship without international collaboration, right?
You got it. The
Yeah.
study found that without international collaboration, there was no international co-authorship. Straight up.
So basically, if you're not collaborating internationally, you're kind of missing out on the chance to have your name on research with colleagues from other countries.
Yeah, exactly. And those co-authored publications, they can really make a difference, especially for researchers who are earlier in their careers.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's all about, getting your name out there, building that reputation. But the study found some pretty big numbers, right? What was the actual difference in those co-authorship rates between the internationalists and the locals?
Well, they found that depending on the field, internationalists had a 4 to 7.5 times higher rate of international co-authorship.
Mhm.
Yeah, compared to those locals. I mean, that's not just like a little bit. It's a huge advantage.
That's a massive difference. It really highlights that if you want to be seen as like a global expert in your field,
Hmm.
international collaboration, it's not just like a nice thing to have, it's pretty much
Yeah,
essential.
you hit the nail on the head. But here's where it gets interesting for those of us who aren't, publishing research papers every day.
Right.
Even if you're not in academia, this study makes you think about collaboration in general and what it
Mm.
could mean for your career, whatever that career may be.
Okay, so let's bring this back to our listeners who might be thinking, okay, this is cool and all, but I'm not a scientist, I'm not a researcher. What's in it for me?
Right. I think the key takeaway here is the power of perspective.
Okay.
International collaboration. It's not just about boosting those publication numbers. It's about getting access to a whole bunch of different ideas, experiences, and approaches. And that's valuable no matter what you do.
Yeah, it's like that saying, two heads are better than one, but like amped up to a global scale.
Exactly. When you work with people from different backgrounds, you get exposed to totally new ways of thinking, problem solving, innovating.
Right. And it's not just about that initial spark of creativity either. International collaboration can actually help solve problems better.
For sure. I mean, different cultures, they often approach challenges in unique ways. And by combining those different perspectives, you can come up with more innovative and effective solutions.
It's like if you're designing a bridge, right?
Mm.
That's a complex project. And if you're only working with engineers from your own country, you might be missing out on some really valuable insights from people who have worked on similar projects in different environments.
Right. Different terrains, different climates, using different materials or techniques.
Exactly. And sharing that knowledge, it can lead to better designs, more resilient, more efficient.
Totally.
Yeah.
And beyond the professional benefits, I think there's a lot of personal growth that comes from international collaboration.
Oh, for sure.
Working with people from different cultures, it just broadens your horizons. It challenges those assumptions you might have and makes you more adaptable and open-minded. It's a chance to step outside of what you're used to and see the world from a whole new perspective.
It's like that saying, the world is a book and those who do not travel only read one page. But in this case, international collaboration, it's like traveling to a whole new chapter.
Yeah, exactly. It expands your understanding. It enriches your
And
perspective.
who knows, you might even make some lifelong friends along the way. I mean, building those relationships with people from different cultures, it can be so rewarding, both personally and professionally.
It really is. It's about building bridges, fostering understanding, recognizing that we're all connected, despite our differences.
Yeah, I love that. So for our listeners who are thinking, okay, how do I apply this to my own life? What are some of the key takeaways from this study, even if they aren't in academia?
Well, I think the first takeaway is to be open to new perspectives. Seek out opportunities to connect with people from different backgrounds,
Mhm.
even if it's just through online communities or virtual events.
Right.
Don't be afraid to step outside of your comfort zone and engage in conversations with people who might have different viewpoints than you.
I think that's great advice. And it's important to remember that international collaboration doesn't have to be this big formal thing.
Right.
It can be as simple as connecting with a colleague in another country or joining an online group related to your hobbies or interests. Exactly. It doesn't have to be like some huge research project or anything. Just being open to those connections, that can make a big difference. So, as we're wrapping up this deep dive into international research collaboration, it seems like the main takeaway is that these connections, they're a lot more than just, padding your resume.
Right. It's not just about the numbers. This study was all about academia, but it makes you wonder, does this apply to other fields too? What if, connecting with people from other countries, what if that's the key to unlocking your next level of success, no matter what you do?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, especially these days. The world's getting more and more interconnected. Being able to work with people across borders, that's only going to be more important as time goes on.
Absolutely. I mean, think about it. You could be an entrepreneur wanting to reach new markets, or a designer looking for inspiration from other cultures, or even a programmer working on a global project. Those international connections can open so many doors, help you achieve things you might not have thought possible before.
So, to all our listeners out there, we want to leave you with this. Think about your own field, your own passions, and ask yourself, what could you achieve through international collaboration?
Yeah, maybe it's connecting with an expert in another country, or joining an online community, or even just reading articles and books from a global perspective. Just start exploring. You might be surprised what you find.
That's it for our deep dive into the world of international research collaboration. Hopefully you found it helpful and maybe even inspiring.
Until next time, keep learning, keep connecting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.